plaintiff, Blaine Hammond, rented an apartment to the defendant and his wife. And after he moved in, Blaine discovered he was a belligerent alcoholic. Blaine claims once, when he confronted the defendant about money he owed, the defendant claimed to be a Navy SEAL and said he was going to put a hit on Blaine. He's suing for unpaid rent. Defendants Pete Lelis and his wife Ann admit that Pete was an alcoholic, but he insists he's currently sober. Pete claims while living in Blaine's rental unit, the property flooded, and Blaine agreed to repay them for the damages. But he failed to do so they're countersuing.
Start with you.
I first met the Lelises back in 2012 when they took up residence in my building. Ann had worked for about 15 years with my cousin, so they had a long relationship. I knew that they had an existing eviction, but they wanted to turn their lives around. And Ann is a recovering alcoholic. That's something that is still an issue with Pete. It didn't take long before that started to become a problem. I would receive expletive-laced text messages from him. The neighbors wouldn't let him into their homes.
Why was he sending you these messages? And when did they start?
When I asked for rent, or he would be drinking, and sometimes he wouldn't even remember, like the following day, or he'd say, "Oh, I was probably a little bit," I'll just say, out of hand.
When did they start?
Probably about 6 months after moving in.
How long did they live there?
They lived there from May of 2012 until July of 2017.
For 5 years, you put up with that mess. You must like drama.
Only when he was drinking.
Yeah, you got drama addicts out here. There ain't no drama in their life. Their life is just boring. It's a boring life.
I really wanted to help him out. So
I want to hear that part from you, sir. Were you doing this right after moving in, and you did it for 5 years?
Your Honor, I do have a drinking problem, and...
All right, but ain't that much drunk in the world. But you texting somebody every night.
I'm actually a sober date.
Crackheads don't do that. What? That's more than drinking.
I am sober now since April.
Well, let's talk about that, though.
Yes, there was a few times that he was trying to collect money from me, and I'd text him back.
Okay, but he said outside of collecting money, you just randomly wake up in the middle of the night and start texting him like President Trump does.
No, sir.
He doesn't text, or he doesn't tweet those foul stuff, but he wakes up in the middle of the night and tweets. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, some folks can't sleep at night. I wake up in the middle of the night. I don't go to tweeting. But anyhow, what else you want me to know?
There was a time as well in January of 2016 when Mr. Lelis threatened me personally, and there was a friend of mine with me at the time that witnessed that.
Was he drunk again?
Yes.
And all you were trying to do was get your rent?
Yeah, we just happened to bump into each other. I was with a friend of mine, and we were at a restaurant, and he happened to be at the same place at the bar. And so he came over, and the conversation went onto the rent, which I did not initiate at first at that point. And it came to the stage where he had claimed that he was a Navy SEAL and he knew people that could get these problems taken care of. And he said he would take out a hit on me. He gave and be money ahead for doing that. I didn't honestly take it too seriously at the time, but when he repeated that again, I stood up and face to face, I said, "Do we need to contact the police and let them know about this conversation?" At that point, he backed down and stormed off.
Now, this was still in his drunken days. Do you know of him having sobered up?
He had been sober for short stretches on various occasions, and I like that man. I absolutely like that man.
Now, when is the longest period of time that you are aware of? And, for example, today? Do you know?
I have no reason to doubt that. He seems sober right now, and
you're not getting those texts?
That's correct.
All right. Well, as long as you don't get the text, you should be all right. We know he's sober when there are no texts.
That's right.
When was the last text or confrontation?
Let's see. I would say May, June.
No, Your Honor. I would say that those dates are incorrect as far as the texting.
When's the last text you knew of?
Probably when he was intoxicated.
Right. Yeah, go ahead. And you know that's a lush answer too. I'm sorry. I'm not calling you a lush, but that answer, when did he last do it? When he was last intoxicated. Go ahead.
So the Lelises would periodically fall behind on rent, but they seemed to be making a sincere effort to really catch up, and then they would pay the next month and things. And so I really tried to work with them for quite a period of time. But it's come to a point where just my nerves.
Okay, what months do they owe for? You have a list?
Yes, I do, sir.
And how much is the rent? It's on here?
Yes, it is. From this year.
Okay, so from April 17 through July 17, $1,200 a month, then $100 a month in late fees. And let me hear from them.
Your Honor, that is not the truth. We have moved out of the premises on July 2nd.
So he's not telling the truth?
No.
Man, go get his phone. He
This guy's phone?
So he can text this man. Oh, do your thing, sir. Man, coming here, he ain't telling. No, you do your thing. He ain't telling the truth. The man lying on you, I'm gonna give you permission to send him one of them nasty texts that you usually do. Do what you do.
Those days are far
Do
behind
what
me.
you do.
Can I elaborate?
Go ahead.
So a few days before we moved out, we asked, was it okay for us to stay a couple days in July because we were moving into our new place? And he said, I would be okay with that. My U-Haul was packed up, ready to go. I did the next right thing as a tenant would do, came back on the 2nd, cleaned the place out to...
So that's July, but why don't we just go over all the months? Did you pay April 17's rent?
No, I did not.
Did you pay May 17?
No, I did not.
Did you pay June 17?
I paid $300 of that month.
All right. And what's your defense to the other months?
My other defense is that I had performed work for a major flood that occurred in 2014 of the premises at the townhome.
At his property?
Yes.
The one you rented from him?
Yes.
And was there an agreement regarding you performing that work?
There was a phone agreement that there was a major flood. Can you come and take a look at this? Do you want me to take care of the work? And he said, yes, take care of the work. And I said, this is extensive damage. It's a lot of money here. And he agreed to take care of the work.
Okay. So he owes you, that's your counterclaim,
Yes.
$3,700 for the unpaid work from 2014. Was there ever a price? Did you come back to him and say, this is how much it costs?
He was very hostile at that
About
point.
what? You just cleaned up his house. What is he hostile about? One of them texts?
The flood was so bad, we had to move out of the premises. I had taken care of the work, ventilated the walls, had to remove sheetrock.
Got it. Why was he hostile if you took care of his place like that?
He wanted his month's rent for the month that the flood took place that had to be worked on, even though we were not living there.
Okay, and you said no because I wasn't able to stay there because of the flood.
According to him, that the flood was our fault.
Okay, and what did happen to cause the flood?
When I arrived on the scene, the fire department was there to shut off the water, which the main water main broke.
Okay, so you say the water main. And the question is, once again, did you ever, that was 3 years ago, have you since then concluded how much or agreed on how much that work was worth? You can't just pick your own number.
No.
You gotta say, okay, I did this amount of work. Are you gonna either knock that off the rent or are you gonna pay me? And if he says, well, I don't know how much that is, then you have to have some type of response. You have to say, well, here's 37. Since you don't know how much it is, let me give you something that shows. And he says, well, no, I'm not paying you that 37. Or he says, yes, I'll pay you that 3,700. What happened?
When I went to discuss the numbers, which was basically every month I was paying rent, the first time we had the conversation says, your time is not worth it. I am not going to pay you for this work.
How much did you tell him?
I was trying to talk to him about the amount. I told him between $3,000 and $4,000.
And he said, your time is not worth that.
Yes.
All right, sir. Tell me about the repairs.
No agreement was ever
So
made.
what did you expect?
Nothing ever signed. So he called and said that he was at the unit at that time. I said, do I need to come down and evaluate this, or do you have it under control?
Sir, did he ever tell you how much he wanted for all the work that he did?
I never have seen a number until today.
Did
literally.
he ever tell you?
No.
All right, and you never asked.
No.
You never asked
I
how
said-
much I owe you for
Well-
all that work you did to address the flood that came. You never asked?
Not at that time. About 3-4 months after the flood was the only time, was when
And
it
what
came up
was
again.
what was the number?
And there was no number.
All right, so you didn't come to a number. He wants 3,700. I
But-
think that's fair. 3,700 is your judgment. 5,000 is your judgment. Now you deduct, and that's what you have. Have a good day.
I really do hope that they get their lives together and everything. So I wish the best for them.
I think justice was served here, and that the line that took place in the court is not acceptable.